You've probably heard the phrase, as above, so below, right? It sounds like a nice quote, something you'd see on a mystical t-shirt or an Instagram bio. But what nobody told you is that this phrase is an actual code that governs your life right now while you're watching this video. And I'm not the one saying this. It was Thoth, the master of Egyptian wisdom, who engraved this principle millennia ago on the emerald tablet. What's changed? Nothing. The phrase is still there. It's just that the world forgot how it works. Now pay attention, because this might be the turning point in your life. Everything that's happening to you today, problems, opportunities, encounters, failures, is following exactly this code. Even if you've never heard of it, even if you don't believe in it. And why was this hidden from you? Because once you understand this principle, you don't need luck or gurus or magic formulas anymore. You create your own reality from the inside out. But hold on, it's not enough for me to just throw this phrase at you and expect everything to change. Because what transforms your life isn't repeating pretty words. It's understanding how this law actually works and applying it to your daily life. And that's what most people don't know how to do. So stick with me till the end, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you who Hermes Trismegistus really was, the guardian of this code, and why he hid it in a text that seems simple, but that no one has been able to fully decipher to this day. And most importantly, I'm going to show you how you can take your first step right now to activate this code and create your first personal miracle. Not tomorrow, now. Ready to begin? If up until now you've been amazed that a simple phrase could hold the key to creating reality, what you're about to discover will surprise you even more. Because that phrase didn't just come out of nowhere. It wasn't made up randomly. It was delivered by someone who seemed to have direct access to the invisible gears of the universe. Hermes Trismegistus. A name that crosses civilizations and cultures, wrapped in mystery and reverence. Some say he was a man. Others say he was a god. Some believe he was a compilation of various masters throughout history. But there's something that almost everyone agrees on. Hermes wasn't just a regular philosopher. He was a transmitter of something far greater than any human wisdom could explain. Imagine someone who not only knew the laws of nature, but understood the invisible gears that keep the universe running in harmony. Hermes didn't study the cosmos like some curious onlooker. He seemed to speak the very language of the universe. Not as a spectator, but as someone who understood the codes behind creation. And that's exactly why he left such a short yet incredibly deep legacy. The Emerald Tablet. A small text that fits on a single page, but whose depth still hasn't been fully decoded. Unlike big philosophical treatises or religious texts, the tablet doesn't try to convince anyone. It just states, like saying, this is how things work, it's up to you to notice. And this is where many people get lost, because when they hear about the Emerald Tablet, they think it's some religious or moralistic text, but it's not. The tablet doesn't tell you what's right or wrong. It doesn't teach you how to be a better person to please gods or higher beings. It shows you the practical functioning of reality, like a manual, simple and straight to the point. But behind those simple words lies a cosmic mechanism. But why didn't Hermes, with all his knowledge, write a huge book explaining everything step by step? Why did he leave just a few lines and then vanish from history, surrounded by silence and mystery? The answer is simple and deep. Because true knowledge can't be given. It has to be awakened. Hermes knew that if he gave everything ready-made, people would turn it into just another empty belief. They'd repeat the words but wouldn't live what they mean. That's why he left clues. Fragments of a truth that can only be understood by those who are ready to look beyond the words. And that's the difference between someone who reads the Emerald Tablet and thinks they get it, and someone who actually applies what's written there and watches reality change before their eyes. Now here's a detail that almost no one notices. Hermes wasn't an isolated figure. He represented the fusion of two incredibly powerful traditions, the Egyptian wisdom of Thoth and the Greek philosophy of Hermes. Two cultures, distant in time and space, but that both spoke, each in their own way, about the same thing: the correspondence between the visible and the invisible, between the physical world and the spiritual, between what's above and what's below. It's like Hermes was a bridge between worlds, a translator of what lies beyond common perception, someone who saw the code behind matter and decided to leave a map. Not a geographic map, but a vibrational one, capable of guiding those who are ready to step out of the illusion of separation and start consciously creating their own reality. But here comes the question that might already be forming in your mind. If Hermes left this map, how did so many distant cultures come to the same conclusion without ever meeting? How is it possible that people from different places, with completely different languages and traditions, spoke about the same correspondence between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter? And that's exactly what we're going to start uncovering from here. Because this code wasn't confined to Egypt or Greece. It echoed across every corner of the world, like a universal knowledge that different cultures picked up in different ways. In the next stage, we'll explore how traditions as far apart as Indian philosophy, Jewish Kabbalah, and Western philosophy each arrived, in their own way, at the same central truth. And the most amazing part, without even exchanging a single word with each other. In ancient India, for example, the Vedic sages, thousands of years before Greek philosophy emerged, were already saying a phrase that echoes exactly what Hermes wrote. They said, "Tattvam asi," you are that. And what is that? It's the all. It's the entire universe. It's the invisible principle that sustains everything that exists. In the Vedic view, the human being and the cosmos aren't two separate things. They're different manifestations of one infinite reality. While in Egypt, Thoth spoke of the correspondence between heaven and earth, and in Greece, Hermes had described the macrocosm and the microcosm, the Indians were saying the same thing, just in different words. Now, check this out. In the Jewish tradition, the Kabbalah was born, and within it, there's a symbol called the Tree of Life. If you look closely at this symbol, you'll see it represents layers of reality interconnected by invisible paths. Each sphere of the Tree of Life represents a level of being, from the most subtle and spiritual to the most dense and physical. And guess what? What is above influences what is below. The invisible shapes the visible. Then you have Plato in the West, telling the famous story of the cave. People chained since birth, forced to look at shadows cast on the wall, believing that was the only reality. But when someone breaks free and sees the real world, they realize everything they thought was solid and true was just a reflection. Exactly what Hermes was saying. The visible reality is a pale reflection of a greater, invisible truth. Now think with me. India, Egypt, Greece, Israel. 4 cultures, in different periods, with no internet, no global communication, no cultural exchange. How did they all arrive at the same truth? How did they all realize there's a correspondence between the invisible and the visible, between the inner and the outer? The only possible explanation is that they were observing the same thing, but each one translated it through their own language, through their own cultural context. It's like a group of people in different parts of the planet looking at the same sun and trying to describe it. Each one would use different words, maybe draw it differently, but the sun would still be the same. And what is that sun? It's consciousness. It's the awareness that the outer reality is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. When you change your perception, your vibration, your intention, the reality outside you changes. Not because you forced something to happen, but because you altered the invisible field that supports everything. But here comes the question no one clearly answered. How do you turn this knowledge into practice? How do you get out of the pretty theory and actually make this happen in your everyday life, in the real situations you face? Because knowing the universe is a mirror doesn't help if you don't know how to clean that mirror or adjust the image it's reflecting. And this is exactly where most seekers would stop. They knew the theory but couldn't apply it. They got stuck in beautiful philosophies but kept living the same difficulties. Now, what if I told you that this code wasn't limited to ancient texts or the complicated words of sages? What if I told you it's working right in front of your eyes every day, silently, in nature itself? But no one noticed because they're too busy looking at their phones, at daily problems, at the chaos that seems to be taking over the world. And that's where everything starts making even more sense. Because while the wise left words and symbols, nature never needed to write anything. It simply is. No dogmas, no theories, no philosophical debates. Nature expresses Thoth's code in every detail, silently, perfectly, and constantly. And the most curious part? You've seen it thousands of times but never stopped to really look. Look at a galaxy spinning in space and then compare it to the spiral of a seashell found on the beach. What connects these two forms, separated by unimaginable distances? The answer is an invisible pattern, known today as the golden ratio, a number that shows up not only in the cosmos, but also in plant growth, hurricane formation, lightning branches, and even in the proportions of your own body. And it doesn't stop there. If you look at the veins in a leaf, the way rivers branch when seen from above, or even the structures of your lungs, you'll notice something even more striking. They all follow the same geometric pattern, as if a single intelligence had designed the micro and the macro with the same signature. Now think about your neurons. Inside your head, there are billions of electrical connections forming networks that, interestingly, look like images of galaxies taken by the Hubble telescope. It's as if your brain were a miniature universe, as if you literally carried within you the same blueprint that organizes the cosmos outside. And why does that matter? Because it shows that the principle of correspondence isn't just a pretty theory. It's working in practice right now. What is above really is like what is below. What's in the great is also in the small. What governs the universe also governs your body, your mind, and your everyday experiences. Nature doesn't just confirm what Hermes and Thoth said thousands of years ago. It shouts it all the time. But immersed in artificial distractions, most people don't hear it anymore. They look at the sky and see stars but don't realize they're looking at the same pattern that organizes their own DNA. They walk through forests and don't see that the trees follow the same fractals that shape their thoughts. Everything follows an invisible design that connects all forms of life. And why does this matter so much? Because if the entire universe follows a pattern, that means nothing that happens is random. There is order behind the apparent chaos. And if that order is in everything, it's also in you. But here comes the part few people notice. Nature expresses this pattern automatically. It doesn't think to grow, it just flows within the cosmic order. But humans, because we have consciousness, have the power to choose whether to follow this flow or disconnect from it. And that's exactly where the conflict lies. Unlike nature, we can resist the natural flow of life. While trees grow effortlessly, following their silent purpose, we fill ourselves with doubts, fears, and internal resistance. It's like the code is available to everyone, but only a few know how to access it consciously. Nature mirrors the divine effortlessly, but humans have to choose it every day. And here comes an inevitable question. If everything around you already follows this pattern of harmony and correspondence, what's stopping you from manifesting that harmony in your own life? What disconnected you from that perfect flow that moves the stars, the seeds, and the seas? Maybe the answer is closer than you think, because while nature follows the code without question, humans have an internal mechanism that can either activate or block that flow, a mechanism that creates your perception of reality at every moment. In the next part, we're going to dive inside you, because there's something in there that's sending out signals all the time, and those signals are what open or close the connection to this universal code. And believe me, it's not outside of you. It's exactly where most people never look. And that's exactly where the secret gets even more personal, because nature follows the code without question, but you have something that no river, no tree, no star has: free will. The ability to choose what you're vibrating at every moment. And that's why, unlike nature, your life can be out of sync with this universal flow. The question is, what is your mind emitting right now at this very moment? Not what you want to think, not what you wish you were feeling, but what's silently vibrating inside, even if you don't realize it. Because that's what the universe hears. People think reality responds to their desires. They think that just wanting something badly is enough to make it happen. But the universe doesn't work on desire. It works on frequency. If you want peace but you're vibrating anxiety, life will respond to your anxiety, not your desire for peace. If you want abundance but you vibrate scarcity, scarcity is what will be reflected back. Because the universe doesn't read your surface thoughts, it feels your real vibration. And where is that vibration? It's in the sum of what you think, feel, and do. It's not just a loose thought, it's the full vibrational field that you emit. Now stop and notice. How many times during your day are you vibrating worry? How often are you vibrating frustration, anger, guilt, fear? Even when you're still, silent, seemingly calm, your mind might be running scarcity scenarios, rejection, failure, and that's what's being sent into the invisible field that connects everything. And now, you might be asking, so do I have to control every negative thought that crosses my mind? And the answer is no, because thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. What defines your frequency isn't one isolated thought, but what you feed with focus and emotion. If a negative thought comes up and you just observe it and let it pass, it doesn't take root. But if you hold on to it, repeat it, feed it with fear or anger, then yes, it becomes your dominant vibration. And that dominant vibration is what shapes your reality. Here's where almost everyone goes wrong. People try to change the outside world without changing their inner field. They try to force situations, control others, change the environment, but keep vibrating the same fear, the same doubt, the same lack. And the universe doesn't respond to what you force. It responds to what you emit. That's why the secret isn't in mental effort. It's in vibrational adjustment. But then comes another inevitable question. How do you adjust that vibration in a practical way? How do you stop emitting fear and start emitting confidence? How do you leave the vibration of scarcity and enter the field of abundance? Because it's not enough to repeat nice phrases. It's not enough to fake being okay when, inside, you're in chaos. True vibration is coherent. It comes when thought, emotion, and action are aligned in the same frequency. And that brings us to something almost no one told you. There are ancient practices, forgotten rituals, that were developed exactly for this, to realign your vibration with the flow of the universe. Practices that have nothing to do with religion, but with spiritual technology. Methods that ancient peoples used daily, not to please gods, but to tune their personal frequency to the cosmic code that governs everything. And the most surprising part is that these practices are simple but extremely powerful. They don't require hours of meditation or complicated rituals. The secret lies in when and how you do them. This is the point where the story begins to reveal something few talk about. Adjusting your vibration is not an intellectual act. It's not about forcing positive thoughts or fighting negative emotions. The ancients knew that true vibration comes from simple practices done at the right time and with the right intention. While today many people look for answers in books or videos, the masters of the past lived those answers in their everyday lives. They didn't talk about vibrational alignment, they lived aligned. The Egyptians, for example, started the day with words of power directed to the sun. But these weren't just regular prayers. They were specific sounds charged with intention, able to harmonize the vibrational field of whoever spoke them. They knew the first sound of the day wasn't just a sound, it was a frequency that opened the path for what was to come. On the other side of the world, Indian yogis did something similar, but instead of words, they used the body and breath. They practiced conscious postures and breathing in the early hours of the day, not to strengthen the body, but to align the mind and spirit with the flow of creation. Every movement, every inhale, every exhale was a way to tune the inner vibrational field to the flow of life. And the medieval alchemists, they had their methods too. But unlike what many think, alchemy wasn't just about turning metals into gold. It was mainly about transforming the inner state of the practitioner. They used symbols, breathing techniques, and visualizations that connected their mental state to cosmic forces silently acting on the material world. But here's a detail that almost no one noticed when studying these traditions. It wasn't the ritual itself that produced the result. It was the inner state with which it was done. An empty word spoken out of habit changes nothing. But the same word, spoken with intention and presence, changes the vibrational field instantly. A movement done automatically has no power, but the same movement, done with full awareness, transforms the vibration. That's why the true ritual is not what you do, but how you do it, and even more important, when you do it. Because there's something the ancients knew that the modern world forgot. It's not enough to practice at any time. There are moments in the day when your vibration has much more impact. Moments when the veil between the visible and the invisible is thinner, more sensitive, more receptive to what you're emitting. But that's been lost over the centuries. Today, people wake up on autopilot, check their notifications, rush through breakfast, and dive into the chaos of the day without ever adjusting their frequency first. Meanwhile, the ancient masters started the day like someone tuning a musical instrument. They knew that the first vibration of the day shaped everything that came after. But we still haven't revealed what that moment is. We haven't said when vibration is strongest, when the universe is most open to receiving what you're putting out. And that's exactly what we're going to reveal in the next part. Because Thoth didn't just practice these vibrational adjustments, he knew the exact moment when creation would respond most powerfully. The ancients called this vibrational portals, moments when your personal frequency has an amplified impact on reality. And here comes what almost no one told you. These portals happen every day, but they're invisible to those living on autopilot. You know that moment right when you wake up? Before you even grab your phone, before you remember the bills, the problems, the tasks of the day. That's one of the most powerful moments that exist, because your mind is still in that liminal state between the unconscious and the conscious. The field is clear, ready to be programmed. What you feel and think in those first few minutes sets the vibrational tone for your entire day. If you wake up already stressed, rushed, frustrated with life, You plant that vibration in your field. And everything that happens during the day will echo that initial frequency. Like a movie that starts with tense music, you already know something's going to go wrong. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up in silence, take a deep breath, feel gratitude, even if nothing outside has changed yet. You plant a vibration of peace and openness, and that vibration creates a silent wave that spreads through your day, influencing encounters, situations, and even how people react to you. But it doesn't stop there. There's another equally powerful portal, the moments before you fall asleep. There, when your mind starts to slow down, when your body relaxes, and you prepare to enter deep sleep, your final vibration of the day gets imprinted into your energetic field and keeps vibrating even while you sleep. If you go to sleep angry, worried, or reliving bad situations, your energy spends hours feeding that state. But if you sleep in peace, feeling gratitude, or simply in silence, that's the frequency that keeps working for you through the night. That's why so often you wake up tired even after getting plenty of sleep, because it wasn't your body that didn't rest, it was your energy that spent the whole night vibrating anxiety. Now, check this out. What you do in these two key moments seems small. Maybe it lasts 2 or 3 minutes, but the impact it has on the next 24 hours of your life is massive. In theory, everyone knows they should keep their inner peace, stay high vibe, avoid reacting, but all it takes is a traffic problem, an argument at work, or unexpected criticism, and it all falls apart. The vibe that seems so aligned in the morning disappears in minutes. Why? Because no one taught us to see conflict as a reflection, not as an attack. The truth is simple and deep. Nothing outside has the power to throw you off balance unless something inside you is vulnerable to it. What irritates you in the outer world only affects you because it found a matching frequency inside you. It's like life is a mirror all the time. And every tough situation, every person who bothers you, every unexpected challenge is reflecting a part of you that needs healing, adjusting, or recognition. But instead of looking at the mirror, most people try to break it. They react with anger, try to change the other person, run from the situation, or just give in to emotional chaos. But life doesn't stop until you look at what needs to be seen. If a situation keeps repeating in your life, if a certain kind of conflict shows up often, it's not bad luck. It's the universe trying to show you an unresolved frequency inside you. And until you shift it, you'll keep vibrating the same pattern and attracting the same situations. Now think with me. What if instead of reacting automatically, you pause for a moment and asked, what is this situation trying to show me? What part of me is vibrating this frequency that created this conflict? Because the moment you take that responsibility, something shifts. You stop being a victim of life and become a co-creator of your reality. Now that you understand the universe responds to vibration, not just desire, it's time to break down one of the biggest misconceptions popularized by modern spirituality. The idea that thinking positively is enough to change your life. That's only 1/3 of the equation. Thought alone is like a spark with no fuel and no direction. It doesn't make fire. It doesn't move energy. It doesn't create real transformation. True vibration is born when thought, emotion, and action align, forming a complete electric current. This is the triad that Thoth understood and that ancient traditions taught again and again, but that the modern world mostly forgot. And what happens when that current is broken? The flow weakens, and reality reflects weak, inconsistent, or contradictory results. Think of someone who dreams of prosperity. They visualize wealth, study abundance, feel the emotion of success for a few moments. But when an opportunity comes, they hesitate, procrastinate, act in fear. It's like flipping a light switch with no power source. The light doesn't turn on. not because the intention was wrong, but because there was no coherence between what they think, feel, and do. On the other hand, imagine someone who feels brave, takes bold actions, but spends their days feeding thoughts of failure and scarcity. What happens? Their action and emotion cancel each other out, and the vibration becomes confused and fragmented. Reality then reflects that same confusion. Doors open and close. Progress is followed by setbacks. Wins don't last. That's why so many people say, "I'm doing everything right, but nothing changes." They don't realize that even though they're taking action, their thoughts and emotions are vibrating the opposite of what they want. And the universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you vibrate as a whole. Now reflect deeply. How many times have you wanted something with all your mental strength, but deep down, emotionally, you doubted it was possible? How many times have you felt gratitude, but your actions were still driven by fear and insecurity? Those contradictions are what prevent your vibrational field from becoming coherent and strong enough to shape external reality. True creation only happens when those three forces move in the same direction. Thought gives clarity, emotion gives intensity, and action brings it into reality. If one of these pillars is missing, the vibrational field has no power to support change. And here's the detail almost no one tells you. Life doesn't respond to isolated moments of coherence. It responds to the vibrational pattern you sustain consistently. It's no use feeling peace for 5 minutes in the morning and then spending the rest of the day vibrating anxiety and fear. The field responds to the dominant frequency, the most repeated one, not to what you feel every now and then. But how do you maintain that coherence in real life with its challenges, distractions, and daily pressures? The answer lies in training your mind, your heart, and your actions to realign every time you notice you're off. It's like tuning an instrument. It's not enough to tune it once and think it'll always sound good. You have to retune it every time it goes out of tune. That's why Thoth and the ancient masters didn't talk only about momentary inspiration. They talked about daily practice, vibrational discipline, constant adjustments in your energetic field, because they knew the real miracle doesn't happen when you think positively. It happens when your whole life vibrates at the frequency of what you want to create. But now comes the big question still hanging in the air. If thought, emotion, and action need to vibrate together, then when exactly does the miracle happen? Is it when you think about it for the first time, when you feel a strong emotion, or is it when you act like you're already living it? The answer is much simpler and deeper than it seems. The miracle happens the moment those three forces meet, without contradiction, in the present moment. It's not when you wish, not when you imagine, not when you wait. It's when you live now as if you're already experiencing what you want to manifest. But most people give up before they get there, because it's hard to hold a positive thought when fear kicks in. It's challenging to keep emotions high when life feels like it's falling apart. It's tough to act with confidence when the results haven't shown up yet. And that's exactly where most abandon the vibrational process and fall back into the old pattern of scarcity and frustration. This is the moment that separates those who live waiting for something to happen from those who choose to create. Because it's easy to understand spiritual concepts, easy to repeat catchphrases. What's hard is applying them when real life challenges you, and your first miracle won't wait for everything to be perfect to happen. It's born the moment you stop waiting and start living like you already have what you're looking for. And here's the key. The miracle doesn't happen outside. It happens inside, the exact moment your mind, heart, and actions all vibrate at the same frequency. That's the point where the invisible becomes real, where what was stuck in your mental and emotional field finally finds expression in the physical world. Now let's move to practice. Pick one of your desires. Any desire. Something simple, but real for you right now. It could be peace in a relationship, financial abundance, physical or emotional health. Close your eyes for a moment and think. What would your life be like if that were already real? What would be your first thought when you wake up? What emotion would fill your heart? And most importantly, what action would you take today? Maybe you'd smile more. Maybe you'd be kinder to people. Maybe you'd manage your time better or go after new opportunities without fear. What matters isn't the size of the action, but how aligned it is with the life you want to create. Because here's the secret no one told you. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you're emitting now. If you act like you already have it, even if the results haven't shown up yet, your vibrational field starts aligning with that new reality. And when that field gets strong, life starts rearranging the pieces on the board. But all of that is a consequence of what happened inside you first. Now pay close attention to this. The miracle doesn't happen when everything is calm. It happens in the middle of chaos. Because it's easy to vibrate abundance when money shows up. It's easy to vibrate peace when everything's going well. What's hard is vibrating love when you feel rejected. What's hard is vibrating trust when fear tightens your chest. What's hard is acting with faith when reality seems to say the opposite. But that's exactly when the miracle happens, when you decide to vibrate differently from what the world is showing you. Because in that moment, you stop reacting to what's outside and start creating from within. And now that you understand this, I want you to do a practical exercise today. Pick one situation in your life where you feel stuck. Instead of complaining, instead of waiting for it to change, do this. Think of the best possible outcome for that situation. Clearly imagine what the perfect solution would look like. Feel in your heart the emotion of already living that. Not like a distant dream, but like it's real now. Act today like someone who already lives that reality. It could be a small action, a phone call, an email, a thank you note, a bolder decision. What matters is that you act, and then observe. How do you feel? What signs start to show up in your day? Because the vibration you sent out will start shaping what happens around you. But now, a new challenge appears. Because creating one miracle is amazing. But how do you keep it going when challenges come back? How do you avoid falling into old patterns, fears, and beliefs that pull you back into the life you've always lived? That's the part almost no one tells you. Because many teach how to create your first miracle. But few know how to sustain that frequency when the routine returns, when doubt knocks on your door, when life tries to drag you back into autopilot. And that's exactly what you're about to discover now. Because reality doesn't stop moving when the miracle happens. It keeps responding to your daily vibration. And if you don't understand how to keep it alive, you can lose everything you created without even noticing. You may have created your first miracle. You may have felt that shift in vibration, that moment of clarity, that little synchronicity that confirmed reality responded. But here's the truth: few people notice. Creation doesn't stop at the first result. It keeps going. Every moment, every thought, every emotion, and every action, you're still emitting vibration, and that vibration keeps creating new realities around you, even if you're not aware of it. Your reality is a flow. It's not frozen in time. Everything you're living today isn't a fixed point. It's a continuous reflection of your vibrational state, which is being fed by the experiences you created yesterday, the day before, last week. There's a cycle happening all the time, a cycle of vibrational feedback. It works like this. You emit a vibration. That vibration creates situations in your life. Those situations make you think and feel a certain way. And those thoughts and feelings generate more vibration, which creates more situations. See it? It's a closed loop. The life you're living reinforces the vibration you already have, and that vibration keeps creating the same life. That's why even after creating a first miracle, many people go back to their old patterns, because they experience the new reality for a while, but then, without realizing it, they start thinking, feeling, and acting like before. And when the vibration returns to the old pattern, the cycle closes again. The situations that show up start reflecting that drop in vibration, and the person thinks the miracle is over. But the miracle didn't end. They just stopped sustaining the frequency that created it. This happens all the time. Someone gets a new job but soon starts complaining about life and vibrating scarcity. And before long, they lose motivation or the opportunity. Someone starts a great relationship but carries past fears and slowly creates the same problems that ruined previous ones. Someone starts taking care of their health but slips back into old emotional habits. The cycle starts over. Life isn't standing still, it's constant motion. And the most important question you can ask yourself right now is, what kind of movement am I creating in this moment? Because it doesn't matter what you manifested yesterday. The universe is responding to what you're vibrating now, always now. It's like a song that never stops playing. If you don't keep it in tune, it starts to go off-key on its own, not because someone sabotaged you, but because anything that isn't sustained naturally returns to its previous state. And that's why keeping your vibration high requires daily attention, conscious choices, constant alignment. Now, here comes an even deeper point. Because besides realizing the cycle continues, you need to understand that it's not just a passive reflection of what you think and feel. It's also shaped by the situations you're already living. Because what you experience today feeds how you feel, and how you feel feeds your vibration. If you don't break this cycle, you stay stuck in an endless loop. Practical example: if today you're going through a conflict, your emotional state is likely reflecting that conflict. And if you don't consciously do anything to change it, your vibration will keep creating more conflict tomorrow. And those new situations will reinforce the emotional state of conflict, and so on. It's like spinning a wheel. At first, you need effort to get it moving. But once it starts spinning, its own motion builds inertia, and it keeps going on its own. Your vibration works the same way. Once a vibrational pattern is set, it tends to keep going, unless you consciously step in. Now that you've created your first miracle, your mission is to understand that it's not the end of the journey. It's the first step into a new reality. But if you want that new reality to keep growing, you need to feed the cycle with new vibrations, new thoughts, new feelings, and new actions. Because if you don't, the old pattern will try to pull you back into the comfort zone. But there's a way out. There's a way to break that cycle and restart from zero anytime you feel like you're falling back into old patterns. And this technique, which Thoth and the ancient masters knew, lets you reset your vibrational field and rewrite your reality from a new starting point. And this is exactly where many people get lost. Because after creating a miracle, after feeling the shift in vibration, the mind's natural tendency is to try to control everything again, to look for external proof that the inner work worked. But Thoth already said, true control is not about keeping circumstances under your control, but about knowing how to return to the point where nothing controls you. That point has a name: zero state. The place where your vibration resets, where old cycles stop spinning and you get the chance to begin again. Zero state is not a physical location. It's not a complicated technique. It's a state of consciousness where you quiet everything that is not you. It's when you stop fighting what happened, stop resisting what's coming, and simply enter inner silence. In that silence, mental noise fades, fears dissolve, and your vibrational field returns to neutral. But pay attention. Vibrational neutrality is not indifference. It's not apathy. It's not resignation. It's a state where you're not trapped in anxious desire or fear of failure. It's a state where you're not trying to control reality, but allowing it to reflect your purest state. It's the moment you stop reacting and start observing, stop projecting and start being. So how do you access this state? It all starts with silence. An inner silence you can access right now, no matter the noise outside. Close your eyes for a moment and just observe your breath. Don't try to change anything, just observe. Watch the thoughts pass like clouds in the sky, without grabbing onto any of them. Feel your emotions without trying to name them, without trying to push them away. Just be present. In this simple act of observing without resisting, without judging, and without seeking anything, you're already entering the zero state. It's in this space that old vibrational patterns begin to dissolve. Because the mind is no longer feeding anxiety, the heart is no longer trapped in fear, and the body is no longer reacting on autopilot. Everything returns to the starting point. It's like resetting an instrument before tuning it again. And why is that so powerful? Because while you're trapped in past thoughts or anxious about the future, your vibration is scattered. It's trying to fix what's already happened or anticipate what hasn't even occurred. In the zero state, you're not in the past or the future. You're here now, and only in the now can vibration be consciously recreated. That's exactly what the ancients called inner rebirth. It's the moment you stop carrying the weight of your story and become new again. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what the world expects from you tomorrow. Here, in this moment of silence, everything can be reset. But here's the big key. The zero state is not permanent. It's a portal, a restart point. You access it to clear the old vibration, and from there, begin to emit a new frequency. And that new frequency will start creating your new reality. That's why, after accessing silence, it's necessary to consciously choose what you're going to vibrate from that point on. And this is exactly where the next element comes in: sound and word. Because after silence, the first vibration you emit reactivates your field, and that's what you're going to discover in the next part. Because Thoth knew that after the void comes the verb, and it's in the verb that creation begins again. And it's exactly in silence, when everything seems empty, that creation begins again, with one detail most people ignore. Because after absolute silence, the first thing that emerges is not a thought or an action. It's a sound. A primordial sound, invisible to the eyes but real in the vibrational field. Thoth knew this. The ancient sages knew this. And that's why they always began any creation, any ritual, any spiritual practice with a word. Because sound is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. But not just any sound. The ancients didn't speak just to speak. They knew that every word, every syllable, every vibration coming from the human voice is a frequency that shapes the field around it. That's why cultures as different as Egypt, India, and Judeo-Christian traditions spoke of the word as the first manifestation of creation. In Egypt, words of power were called heka. They were sacred sounds used to align the vibrational field with cosmic forces. Egyptian priests didn't recite memorized prayers without intention. They chanted specific words at specific times, tuning their own vibration to the universal field. In India, mantras were born, words and syllables that, repeated with intention, create a sound field that alters both internal and external vibration. Mantras like Om, which represents the primordial sound of creation, aren't just mystical sounds. They're frequencies that, when spoken correctly, harmonize body, mind, and spirit with the universal flow. And in the Judeo-Christian tradition, we find the same essence. In Genesis, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." What does that mean? That in the beginning, there was no matter. There was vibration, and that vibration was expressed as a word, as sound. But in the modern world, people have lost this awareness. They speak without realizing the impact of what they're saying. They speak negative words about themselves every day. "I can't do it. Nothing works for me. My life is hard. I'm unlucky." And they don't even realize they're sending out vibrational commands that the universe, without questioning, begins to follow. The universe doesn't distinguish a joke from truth, irony from real intention. It responds to the vibration behind the word. That's why every time you say something, you're programming your vibrational field. The question is, are you programming what you really want or reinforcing what you fear? And now that you've accessed the zero state, quieted your mind, and cleared your field, what you say from here on out is like the first seed planted in untouched soil. That's why you need to be careful with the first words you speak after the silence. They hold more power than you think. Want a practical exercise? After quieting your mind and accessing the zero state, speak out loud a word that represents the reality you want to create. It could be peace, abundance, love, healing, clarity. But don't just say it. Feel the vibration of the word resonating inside you. Repeat it until it's no longer just an external sound, but a living frequency in your vibrational field. Now that you understand that sound and word restart the vibrational field after silence, the deepest challenge of all arises, turning this process into a way of living, not just a one-time practice. Because creating a miracle once is like lighting a candle in the dark, but living in a state of miracle is like keeping that flame alive even when the wind blows hard, and that consistency is what separates those who wait for things to happen from those who create their own reality. Thoth didn't teach random, occasional practices. He taught a daily vibrational science. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you do once in a while, it responds to what you consistently vibrate. And here's the key that few understand. It's not the intensity of a single moment that creates your life. It's the frequency of what you repeat daily. Think of someone who goes to the gym once a month and expects to be healthy, or someone who says words of love one day and thinks that will sustain an entire relationship. Obviously, it doesn't work, because everything in the universe runs on cycles and consistency. The sun rises every day. The seasons follow precise rhythms. Your heart beats thousands of times without stopping. Conscious creation follows the same principle, vibrational consistency. So the question that changes everything is, what vibrational cycle are you sustaining day after day? Because if you access the zero state in the morning, reprogram your field with power words, but in the middle of the day, go back to complaining, vibrating fear, acting out of alignment, the dominant vibration is what will prevail, not the small initial moment. That's why the real practice isn't just in meditation or conscious rituals. It's in what you do when life throws you off track. It's in how you respond to traffic, to the news, to difficult people. It's in how you return to center every time you realize you've drifted away. And how do you create this ongoing cycle? The answer lies in intentional repetition. Create small daily practices that realign you. It doesn't need to be anything complex. It can be one conscious breath in the afternoon. It can be repeating your power word before an important meeting. It can be silently giving thanks for something simple before bed. What matters is not letting your vibration drop for long periods. Because every time you hold the right frequency, even when everything around you invites you back into chaos, you strengthen the vibrational field that keeps reality working in your favor. And little by little, what used to be occasional miracles starts becoming a natural flow. favorable situations begin to happen more often. The right people and opportunities cross your path effortlessly. Your intuition gets clearer. Your energy field starts to repel what's out of alignment and attract what matches your vibration. And here's a secret few people tell you. Living in a state of miracle doesn't mean life will be perfect. It means that even when challenges arise, and they will because they're part of evolution, you won't react like before. Your vibration won't swing wildly. You'll learn to recalibrate quickly without wasting time in unnecessary suffering. Thoth taught that true power isn't about avoiding chaos, but about maintaining inner order amid external chaos. Because the world outside will never stop moving, but your center can remain steady. And it's in that center that conscious creation happens continuously. Now that you know this, the inevitable question arises. How do you turn everything you've experienced so far into a new beginning? How do you take the next step to live this as a lifestyle, not just a theoretical lesson? And now that you've come this far, it's impossible to pretend you don't know anymore. Because once you see the invisible structure behind reality, you can't go back to believing life is just a string of meaningless coincidences. Thoth tried to make this clear when he carved into the stones of time a phrase that seems simple but contains the greatest secret of creation. What is above reflects what is below, and what is below reflects what is above. But most people read that as philosophical poetry. Few understood it was a practical instruction. That instruction wasn't about worshiping distant gods or creating religious or dogmatic systems. It was about recognizing that your own life is the space where the entire cosmos manifests. Your body, your mind, your emotions, your desires, and your choices are not random. They are the instruments through which the universe experiences itself in human form. But don't be fooled. This path doesn't end here. On the contrary, this is where it truly begins, because knowing the code is just the first step. Applying it every day, even when it feels hard, that's the real challenge. And it's that challenge that transforms ordinary lives into masterpieces of conscious creation. Thoth left the key. Hermes translated it into words. Nature confirmed it in form, and now it's in your hands. What are you going to do with it? Now that you have the code, the choice is yours. And if you've made it this far, it's because your soul already recognized the call. So write this in the comments. I activate the code now. Because when you write it, you're not just confirming it to yourself, you're anchoring that vibration into your field. And I'm going to read each and every comment because I want to see who's truly ready to create their own reality. And if at any moment you feel like supporting this channel directly and helping us spread more messages like this around the world, there's a special link in the first pinned comment. Your support makes all the difference so we can keep sharing deep, truthful content that frees those who are ready to awaken. But don't leave the video yet, because I've set aside something special that's popping up on your screen now. It's the next step in this journey, where we're going to go even deeper into this code and show you how to apply it in practice. Click it, and let's keep going together, because this is just the beginning.